Toby, the Jungle Boy. Chapter 1. Born of the Jungle. In the heart of a dense, untouched jungle, where sunlight struggled to pierce the thick canopy and the air was filled with the scent of damp earth and wildflowers, a boy was born. His mother had disappeared before he drew his first breath, leaving him alone in the cradle of the forest. It was here, amidst the chorus of chirping birds, the rustle of leaves, and the distant roar of a river, that Toby's life began. A she-wolf discovered the infant, drawn by his soft cries and the fragility of his tiny form. She approached cautiously, sniffing him, her golden eyes reflecting both curiosity and concern. With a gentle nudge, she gathered the boy close to her chest, taking him under her protection. Soon, the jungle itself seemed to adopt him, as though the trees, the rivers, and the creatures had recognized that he belonged there. The first years were simple, yet harsh. Toby learned to drink from the streams, to find fruits hidden in thick foliage, and to recognize the call of the jungle at night, the howls of distant predators, the warning cries of birds, and the whispering of the wind through the leaves. The she-wolf, who Toby called Mara, became his mother, teaching him courage, alertness, and the silent language of survival. Even as an infant, Toby felt the rhythm of the jungle pulse through him. He would giggle when monkeys swung near him, reach for the fluttering butterflies, and coo at the brightly colored birds that perched near his mossy bed. The animals became his family, the elephants who shielded him from danger with their massive presence, the monkeys who played pranks on him and taught him agility, and the birds who would awaken him with their songs at dawn. Chapter 2. Growing up in the jungle. As the years passed, Toby grew stronger, taller, and more agile. His body was lean and toned from climbing trees, running across forest floors, and swimming in the river that cut through the jungle like a silver thread. Every morning, the jungle greeted him with a symphony of life, the chirping of birds, the chatter of monkeys, and the gentle rustle of leaves stirred by unseen creatures. Toby's days were filled with lessons in survival. Mara, the she-wolf, taught him to listen to the jungle. "The jungle speaks," she seemed to say with her eyes. "If you know how to listen, you will never be lost." And indeed, Toby learned to understand the subtle signs, the snapping of a twig signaling a passing predator, the sudden hush among birds warning of danger, the tracks of animals imprinted in mud and soil telling stories of their movements. He moved through the forest with the ease of one born to it. He swung from vines like the monkeys, ran alongside deer without effort, and even learned to avoid the sharp claws and teeth of wildcats by observing their habits. Toby had no human companions, but he never felt alone. The animals taught him trust, loyalty, and respect for the life surrounding him. The elephants, with their deep, rumbling calls, became his protectors. Whenever he wandered too far from the river, they would appear, their massive bodies forming an unspoken shield between him and danger. The monkeys, ever mischievous, taught him balance and cunning. They would lead him to hidden fruits and secret clearings, testing his wit and reflexes at every turn. And the birds, the birds, they were his early teachers of wonder. Their songs spoke to him of the passing seasons, the coming rains, and even the distant lands beyond the jungle that he could only imagine. But life in the jungle was not always playful. There were days of storms when rain poured relentlessly, turning rivers into roaring torrents. There were nights when the howls of predators echoed close to his mossy bed, and Toby would huddle against Mara, learning courage from her calm presence. Hunger sometimes came, and he would learn to forage, tasting fruits he had never seen before and learning which plants were safe. Each day was a lesson, each moment a trial, shaping him into a boy who was as much a part of the jungle as the animals themselves. By the time he was 10 years old, Toby could climb the tallest trees without fear, dive into the river to catch fish with his hands, and run across uneven terrain faster than most of the forest creatures. Yet, even with all his skills, he had an unspoken longing, a curiosity about the world beyond the jungle, a feeling he could not name, but that sometimes stirred when he imagined the lands beyond the river bends and hills. Chapter 4. Lessons of the Jungle. Toby's teenage years were marked by both adventure and discovery. He had grown into a young boy whose senses were sharper than most men who had never set foot in the wild. He learned the language of the jungle, the warning calls of birds, the subtle changes in the wind, and the rhythm of the river. Mara watched him with pride, knowing that the boy she had raised was becoming a force of nature himself. One day, while exploring a dense part of the jungle, Toby discovered an ancient tree hollow filled with carvings made by humans long ago. Though he could not read them, he traced his fingers over the marks, feeling a strange connection to a world he had never seen. This was the first seed of longing for something beyond the jungle, a hint that perhaps he was meant for more than this wild haven. He also learned patience and respect. A jaguar stalked a deer, and Toby watched quietly, understanding the balance of predator and prey. He learned that life was fragile, yet resilient, and that the jungle's lessons were both harsh and beautiful. Adventure was never far away. He chased monkeys through treetops, raced deer along riverbanks, and even saved a young panther cub from a trap set by hunters at the edge of the jungle. With every experience, he grew wiser, learning not just to survive, but to thrive amidst the beauty and danger of the wild. Chapter 5. The Girl in the Jungle. It was during a bright morning, when the mist still clung to the ground and sunlight dappled through the canopy, that Toby's life changed forever. A human girl had ventured into the jungle. She was lost, frightened, and alone. Her name was Amara, and she had come for camping, curious about the wild, but had strayed too far from safety. Toby found her near the river, shivering and weak. At first, she was terrified. Here was a boy who seemed almost part of the jungle himself, with wild hair, bare feet, and eyes that reflected the untamed forest. But Toby approached slowly, offering a hand. There was no fear in him, only a gentle curiosity. Over the days, Amara taught Toby things he had never known. She gave him clothes, showing him how to wear them. She taught him basic human behaviors, how to eat without using his hands like an animal, how to walk on two legs in a way that did not appear awkward, and how to speak with humans in proper sentences. Toby was a fast learner, absorbing every lesson with eagerness. At the same time, Toby showed Amara the wonders of the jungle. He led her to hidden waterfalls, secret fruit groves, and the animals that had been his family. She laughed and marveled, realizing that this boy, wild and fearless, had a heart full of courage and kindness. Chapter 6. Learning and Growing Together. As weeks turned into months, a bond grew between Toby and Amara. She taught him compassion and patience in human terms, while he showed her the freedom and beauty of living close to nature. Toby began to feel emotions he had never known: fondness, admiration, and eventually, love. Through their time together, Toby learned to temper his wild instincts. He could now sit quietly, without fidgeting like an animal, use tools with skill, and even respond thoughtfully to complex situations. Amara's presence bridged the gap between the jungle and human society, preparing him for the life that awaited beyond the forest. Chapter 7: Leaving for the City. Eventually,